Okay, Israel, I hope everybody is doing Tawab today. Shout out Cabo Cabo and his congregation and in Guatemala and the brothers and sisters that they teach from Cali to Georgia. I hope everybody's doing Tawab today. Also, shout out SW family, Zakia in Virginia, Quatazop in Houston, and Zion in Rochester, New York. Also, shout out all the brothers in San Antonio, all the brothers and sisters who contribute and support and tune in. Tawada for your time, Tawada for your commitment and your dedication. Also, shout out to all the listeners in different cities and states. Tawada for your listening and your contributions. Your efforts are much appreciated also. Today we're going to go into The Road to Armaggedon Explained Part 2. Last week's class focused on when you're reading Revelations and Zephaniah and Zechariah and Joel and all the various chapters and all the various prophecies. The Most High's intention is to gather all the nations together in this one region near the Euphrates for eventual judgment. We went into that in detail last week. And today's class is still dealing with that Euphrates region. What we're going to go into today are the reasons and the motivations and how the Most High is bringing all these nations together in this region for Armageddon. The first day was about the fact that the Most High's will was to bring them to this region. Today's class goes into what did the Most High use to bring all of these nations from around the world into this region. Now, we understand what we're about to go into, whether it's talking about Esau or whether it's talking about any of the atrocities that's happened around the world. The Most High is not saying that these atrocities didn't happen, but he's focusing this prophecy in this region because he wants to make sure we understand and we are able to watch this region in particular, so we'll be prepared and have a better understanding that the time is getting closer to the end. So, the first verse we're going to go into is Revelations chapter 16. Revelations chapter 16 and verse 12 through 16. Now, if I'm going a little too fast, let me know, because I'm going to have to kind of explain myself a little slower, and I don't want to rush this because as we go into it, it might get a little bit complicated. Okay, so let's do this.
Revelation chapter 16, verse 12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates.
Now, once again, we're going to be using a lot of the screen online. So you might want to have the screens online so we can see the different pictures and images that kind of explain the concept. So read verse 12 again.
God. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates.
So the sixth angel is the angel that's obviously, or the principality, in charge of the region along the Euphrates River. And as you can see, the Euphrates River starts off in eastern Turkey, and it works its way all the way down through Syria and Iraq, all the way through Kuwait. So this region is the focus that the Most High has, and he wants us to focus on. And he goes into what the focus is and what the conflicts are amongst the people, and then what's initiated by Esau to inflame these issues. Okay, so let's continue.
And the water thereof was dried up.
He says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up. This is actually literally happening. The water in the Euphrates River is diminishing at an astoundingly fast rate. Let's look on some pictures on the screen. This is literally your Google machine, your Google AI machine. This is not a war lion. It says the Euphrates River has been declining in size for several decades, with significant rapid acceleration observed since the early 2000s. Why is that important? When you read Revelations, when you read Second Ezra, when you read all these prophetic chapters and scenarios, a lot of times we're looking for one event. When you read about, you think about one event, one major thing happening. But when you read chapters like this, it's explaining a time period and a process and whether it's an evolution or it's a decline over time. So when the Most High is saying that this great river Euphrates, the water is going to dry up, it doesn't happen overnight. This declining of water is gradually devolving. The situation is devolving over years.
But when we read the Bible, sometimes we think, okay, it's going to happen like this.
And that messes up your perception. That messes up how you look at, how you're able to watch, how the Most High operates and moves. It's no different than when you go into Ezekiel chapter 38 and read about Gog and Magog. And read about how the Most High is going to pull Gog, or he's going to pull Magog with hooks. And you think that it's going to be like this blitzkrieg of wars that's going to bring Russia from Israel, from Russia all the way through Ukraine and then all the way through Europe. And that's not how the Most High works. The Most High is still pulling Russia westward to their original land masses and beyond, but the process is more of a slow, gradual process than this quick evolution or this quick escalation like we're looking for. Listen, Russia's still moving westward. Russia is strategically not destroying and wiping down their military, even to the chagrin of their people in Russia. But they're doing it with the purpose of disarming NATO and disarming the United States. And actually, because Russia understands, the United States gave a lot of their weaponry to Ukraine, and now they're looking up and they don't have anything really left to fight in Iran. Okay. There's only so much weaponry left. But that was all strategy and played in part by Russia. So even the Russian media and the people are complaining, damn, Putin's taking forever. But what good is fighting and taking out land when all they're going to do is bring back more weaponry next week? You're better off demilitarizing the region, staying in your place and letting these guys burn off all of their weaponry and then continue to slowly, gradually work west. Point is, I'm only going and explain this because even in Ezekiel, the idea of that hook drawing Russia out is slower than anticipated, but it's still happening. So even now with this Euphrates drying up, it's still happening, but it is not happening at the pace that we are expecting or might think will happen.
This being pushed, this whole idea of the Euphrates being pushed or being dried up, it's been set up for a minute.
It's been happening for a minute, and as the Euphrates River has been diminishing, so have the subsequent wars to salvage the water that's in the region. One of the major issues in the region is water. Haven't you been listening in class about the desalination plants?
Yeah.
Whether it's in Israel or in Saudi Arabia, or it's in Qatar, or it's in UAE, or it's in Bahrain. The major issue is, or even in Kuwait, can you sustain livability in the region without these water plants that can take bad water into clean water? Obviously, water shortages are a major issue in the region. And this is what the Most High is explaining. Once fertile land is not as fertile as it used to be, now all of a sudden your crops can't get sustained. Now there's going to be food shortages. Now there's going to be fighting and wars over the remaining water in the region. Let's go back to... No, I'm going to read. So it says the Euphrates River has been declining in size for several decades with significant rapid acceleration observed since the early 2000s. Major contributing factors include severe droughts, dam construction in Turkey and Syria. So think about this. The Turkey, people in Turkey, they're really kind of doing dirtbag stuff. If the water starts up north, and they start setting up dams up north. Guess what doesn't happen to the people in Syria, which is right below them? Guess who gets less water? If the people in Turkey are sitting back here clogging up the water, setting up dams, then who's getting starved out? Syria and Iraq. So it was starting, the lack of water put everybody in this every man for themselves position. So Turkey got to get their water and secure dams for their country. But Syria's like, we're thirsty too in Syria. We need water too. And Iraqis, we're getting sloppy thirds. What the hell is going on? Then you Kuwait's like, we're the last dudes to get anything. We need water too. So now there is a struggle and a fight for the remaining resources in the region. And when there is conflict in a region, there's also what? Money to be made. There's also people to exploit.
Financial opportunity.
There's financial opportunities with these wars and these struggles for the water, which is natural, the natural resource that everybody needs in a region.
Because
Esau is the king of that.
The commodities being scarce increases price, supply and demand.
It's not just price. You create leverage, and we're going to explain it. Esau can use leverage now, political leverage, to get people to work on their side, to get them to sit back here and do things they might not normally want to do. So, I'm going to continue reading. It says major contributing factors include severe drought, dam construction in Turkey and Syria in the 70s, since the 70s. So listen, when Syria saw Turkey do dams, Syria's like, listen, we got to set up dams too, because there's not going to be no water left. So then all of a sudden, the Iraqis don't get the water they need, so forth and so on, the Kuwaitis. Then it says, climate change, yada, yada, yada. If you believe that, you do. If you don't, you're wise. Then it says, with projections suggesting it could run dry by 2040. They're saying, listen, there's going to be no more water in this river in like 15 years. That's a real problem. Okay? Then it says, I guess, 1970s to present, construction of major dams reduced the downstream flow, particularly impacting Iraq. So like I said, when they set these dams up, you're getting less water working downstream. Syria sets their dams up, there's even less water working downstream. So now the Iraqis have less water to function. That creates tension. So the Iraqis have more beef with the Syrians, and the Syrians have beef with the Turkish people. And you can sit back here even now. Turkey and Syria have been having significant battles about this particular group of people called the Kurds. The people in Syria kicked out the Kurds and sent them to Turkey. But then the Kurds in Turkey are sitting back here and setting up terrorist acts in the country and are stealing their minimum wage money and their money for their citizens. So you got Erdogan, which is the president of Turkey, trying to get all these Kurds the hell out of Turkey and send them to Syria. And Syria's like, no, y'all keeping them. Why am I saying this? It all starts with, we can't feed them. We can't give them water. You take it. Since you want to take all the water, then take these people that we don't want. What is it creating? Tension, stress. People are angry. And the Kurds, guess where the Kurds came from first? Iraq. So Iraq said, we sitting these dudes, getting these guys the hell out of Iraq, get them to them boys that got water. And seriously, we don't want them. Send them down to Turkey. And all of a sudden, there's more tension in the region. And when there's tension in the region, there's got to be a person to exploit the tension in the region. Okay, now we're going to go into, the Iraqi minister in 2021, the Ministry of Water Resources warned that if current trends continue, the river could face total drying by 2040. We read it earlier. Then it said key contributors are decreased rainfall, high evaporation due to rising temperatures, and intense agricultural uses. The more people you got, the more crops you got to take care of, and then things become chaotic. There was another scenario we're going to go into in a bit. So go back to verse 12 in Revelations.
Revelation 16 and 12.
So the first thing we explain is just the fact that there's drying water in the region and that there are starting to become stressors behind it. Read on.
And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up. And the way of the kings,
That the way.
that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared.
So he says the reason the Most High dried up the Euphrates River is so that the kings of the east can be prepared. But prepared for what? Hold this. Go to Joel 3 and 9. I think it's 3 and 9. Yeah. Read that. Joel 3 and 9. Somebody.
Joel chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles.
We know the Most High, through countless chapters, explains the theater of war is going to be in the Middle East. And he says the reason that all this drying up the Euphrates River water was to prepare the kings of the east for something. Read on.
Prepare war.
It's prepare for war. All these regions are being affected in this do or die type of scenario to get them in a fighting spirit, to get them to not be willing to negotiate with one another, to get them to sit back here and not be in the spirit, to be considerate to one another's needs. Because in a perfect society, nation for nation will be considerate and not do things to decapitate or weaken another country's ability to feed their nation or take care of their nation. But he says the scarcity is putting everybody in the region in this dog-eat-dog mindset. So continue. Prepare for war. Read on.
Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up.
And we're going to explain how the Most High is establishing all the mighty men coming near and coming close in the region. Let that go and go back to Revelations chapter 16.
Revelation 16 and 13.
No. We're still on 12. I'm going to read some more from Google. If it pops up. Okay, now it wants to be ridiculous. Okay. It says, yes, the drying of the Euphrates exaggerated by climate change and upstream dam construction. But once again, the upstream dam construction is about self-preservation.
Yeah.
So he says the upstream of dam construction by Syria and Turkey has caused severe conflict
It caused a lot of
and
irritation.
fueled fighting
Yeah.
in the region over the last 30 years. Since 2000, there has been fighting and conflict in the region amongst the native people of this region, initially over water, initially over the need to sustain their country. But you don't read about this, right? But this is a real thing. Then it says, water scarcity has been weaponized by parties
Yep.
in the Syrian civil war. Now, when did the Syrian civil war start? Does anybody know? Syrian civil war started in 2011. You guessed it, during the Arab Spring. So, during the Arab Spring was when the United States, they had already previously talked to Bashar al-Assad, and they said, listen, Bashar al-Assad, president of Syria, we need you to authorize and run an oil pipeline through Syria to get through Turkey to Europe. Bashar al-Assad said, no, we don't want to do that. I want to sit back and maintain neutrality between you and Russia. And they said, well, Obama said this. Well, if you don't want to do this, we're going to label you a terrorist. We're going to remove you. Obama left, and you guessed it, the Arab Spring kicked in. And all this fighting and war started happening in the region. But what a cunning hunter does, they exploit weaknesses. So they know they have issues with water. They know they have issues in the region with the protecting and the sustainability of their water, right? So Esau knows that, and being the cunning hunter he is, look at the map of the Euphrates River and how it flows through Syria. It's online. When you see that map, the Euphrates River is on what side of Syria? It's on the east side of Syria. Guess where the United States military occupation of Syria lies? Yes. So what happened is, during the Arab Spring, the U.S. wasn't able to completely overcome Syria. But what they were able to do is their forces and ISIS is who's payrolling and bankrolling the Taliban, ISIS, and Al Qaeda? The CIA and Mossad.
Now,
hold on, let me finish. So, with that being the case, when you see the whole east of Syria, besides the water, which is super important, guess what else is on the east side of Syria? Oil. And I didn't say that yet. Oil, water, and what else? Their wheat. All their wheat crops are east. So now I've seen literally droves of trucks leaving from Syria, working their way through Iraq and funneling through the Strait of Hormuz and extracting all the oil. Remember Trump many years ago said we have the oil in Syria, we control the oil, we have the oil. He said that in his first presidency. Because whether from Obama all the way to Trump, they had the eastern section of Syria locked down. So the United States imposed crippling sanctions on Syria, had access to their water supply, oil supply, and their wheat. It was a matter of time, which happened in 2025, that Syria collapsed. So 15 years that they hung in there, but they couldn't sustain all of these things happening to them. You had Blackwater, because they said that Esau, the United States military officially left that part of the country, but Blackwater was there. Blackwater is the United States version of what's that Russian pay-to-fight group? That was Wagner Group. Blackwater is the United States version of Wagner. It's just for hired soldiers that cover the region. So eastern Syria had Blackwater on the far end, and then you had ISIS right in front of them. So Syria would have to fight ISIS and Blackwater to get their resources back. Bashar al-Assad just gave up, let them have the east, and stayed in his country, and his country kept withering away, struggling, and breaking down, and struggling, and breaking down. So like I said, Esau used an opportunity, water necessity and scarcity, to stranglehold Syria and other regions. This is what they do. Esau is a cunning what? Hunter. He knows how to sit back here and stranglehold in hunting and the hunting of nations and countries. So, now we're going to go back and read more of what we were talking about. So it says, Syrian Civil War 2010s to present. The Euphrates serves as a critical battle line between the Syrian Democratic Forces, which is hilarious. The Syrian Democratic Forces are the forces bankrolled and payrolled by the U.S. They just call them Democratic. Then it says, and Syrian governmental forces with ongoing battles. So what Esau does is pay groups of Syrian militia, call them Democratic, and have them keep attacking Syria, west of Syria. And they've been doing this for 15 years. And they've been doing this fighting over water dominance, oil dominance, and wheat dominance. And if those are the three resources that your nation has to survive, how long can you last without those things? Not very long. Then it says weaponization of water. Turkey has been accused of using its dams to restrict water flow to Syria. So this is what Esau does now. If you know anything about the Syrian government, especially President Erdogan, he's in pocket with whoever's going to help out Syria, help out Turkey. So if the United States gives him a deal, he'll take that deal. Then he'll turncoat and go to Russia and get a deal from Russia. He plays both sides because Turkey is a strategic area and country where they chose to remain neutral to get the best benefit from each section that they can get. So if they're sitting back here and closing off their dam, that was under orders of the United States to squeeze out Syria and to starve out Iraq. You see how all of these geopolitical plays actually happen. And this is what the Most High is actually allowing to happen to continue to stir up hatred amongst these nations, hatred amongst these people. So now, do you think Syria gives a damn about Turkey? No. You think Turkey cares about Iraq? No. Now all of a sudden the goodwill that was fostered in the region is completely wiped out. You're going to also realize even Saddam Hussein, who was able to maintain peace amongst all the different groups of people in Iraq and the region. Once he got killed, it was a free-for-all, and there was no respect, and it was nothing but animosity and beef in the entire region. But reading Revelation 16 and 12, he's telling you the drought brought all the wolves in. This drought was the beginning of bringing all the wolves in to this theater of war. So the kings of the east were preparing for war. The United States was bringing and developing militias whose intention was just to wipe out the country. The new king or the new leader of Syria, he was ex-Al-Qaeda. He was the top 10 wanted man in the whole world for many years. He had a $10 million bounty on his head, and all of a sudden he gets a fade and trims his beard, and he's the president of Syria, and Trump allows him to come to the White House with a handshake and he's getting love. That's literally what happened. Because the president, the rightfully chosen president of Syria, is in Russia in hiding. And what's happening is the United States is using their proxies all in the Middle East to create dysfunction. So the Most High is saying the way of these kings were prepared, one by the Most High, but the United States, British, and Mossad, MI6 British, Mossad Israel policies to destabilize the region. That's what Esau says. We'll destabilize the region, divide and what? That's what Esau does. So the Most High is allowing this to happen. And the Most High is saying what we should be watching for is that diminishment of the water and how that affects the people in the region and how they treat one another and how they use these beefs to allow further confrontations and armies to stir up in the region. Does that make sense? And I say it this way because, what do you say? Well, that's an aspect of it. It's war profiteers, but it's the manipulation and the exploitation of the needs of the region to get the desired effect that the United States wants. It's so important that when you read the Bible, when it comes to prophecy, has a heavy geopolitical spin to it. And if you're not in touch with things geopolitical, the information is not going to pop off the page. And it's important to be conscious of that. And the way the Most High says, watch. You have to watch through the geopolitical news. That's the only way you're going to see how the scriptures come to life and tie into what's happening today. Does that make sense? So with that being the case, now let's go and jump to verse 13. That's why I said we got to take a little time to kind of build this thing up. Matter of fact, before we do that, I want to read a little bit more in this explanation. It says, Turkey in 1990, and it goes way back, restricted the Euphrates flow for 30 days to fill the Ataturk Dam, leading to severe shortages in downstream countries, which was a massive point of contention. So once again, the Turkish leadership, they sat back here and purposely hurt everybody else for them to sustain themselves and to make their situation comfortable, and that starts the hell. And 1990 is an important time because in 1990, when Turkey started squeezing the water flow from up north, that was the same time when the Iraqi war started in Kuwait. in that same time span, because that's really when the Most High was activating that region in preparation for war. That region was activated in 1990. That's when all this hell started. And it's just been a process of escalation from 1990 to present day. Because before 1990, there was relative peace and quiet in the region. And the reason there was peace and quiet was because at the time, you had the Cold War. And during the Cold War, you had Russia and the United States were operating, and it was neutral. The whole region was neutral. You had Iran was back, Russia backed Iran. You had United States backed Iraq. You had Russia backed Egypt. United States backed Israel. So the whole region was sustained and neutralized, and nobody can gain leverage over the other. When 1990 came in, that's right off of Russia falling and collapsing and pulling a lot of their military out of the Afghanistan region and the Iranian region. They had to pull off their support to resustain themselves in their own country. And once that happened, that domino happened, then Esau started coming in there and meddling in the Middle Eastern region, in the Euphrates region. At the same time, the Euphrates River is drying up. Yes, my woman. I need it on tap. What's up?
What was that war that happened in 1990? What's the name?
Yeah, there was. What was the exact name of the war?
Operation.
Desert Storm?
Storm. Yeah.
That's what it was. That was in 1991. So, it's how I'm explaining. Does it make sense? I'm trying to slow it down enough to where it's able to be processed. You might have to go back over it a few times for it to flow. But are we there so far? Okay. Now, matter of fact, let me put this last one up. Then it says, Islamic State ISIS activities. ISIS cells have been known to target water infrastructure in the region. ISIS cells are paid and financed and trained by the United States and the Mossad. So Esau was using their terrorist cells, their influence politically, and their proxies to strangle and hurt the people. It's no different than when Trump was talking about the lovely people of Iran. This is your best chance to regime change. Mm-hmm. Make it happen. Take your country back. Sounds like damn Bane. Get your freedom back. Yeah, you see, get your freedom back. Get your country back. And then a month later, he said, "Listen, we're gonna bomb you guys.
Bomb the children.
We're gonna bomb the same people we were rooting for. We're gonna bomb you to the Stone Age."
Yep.
So he's like, if you didn't help us regime change nobody, then screw y'all. I don't know if you heard in the news that the United States had sent money and weapons to a terrorist group, ISIS, to go into Iran and cause hell. And they took the weapons and money and never went to go fight. And Trump was like, yeah, they took our weapons. They took our weapons and didn't fight. Because you know what? They're tired of sitting back here and being chumps and exploited. They saw what happened to Maduro, man. Yeah. Everybody that snitched on Maduro in Venezuela, they were promised $10 million.
They didn't get nothing.
They didn't get nothing.
They didn't get 10,000
for sitting back here and ousting Maduro. They said you was a sucker for listening to this.
I said you was a sucker.
And then what happened?
You traded your people.
And then after they did it, the whole world said we can't take theirs with the United States no more.
That was a good one.
Because they don't pay up.
That was a good one.
So then you do the same thing a couple months later, and Iranian says, nah. There's this underbelly of Iran that doesn't lock in. Everybody has an underbelly that doesn't lock into the status quo. Whether it's in Israel or it's in Iran or Iraq, everywhere has an underbelly. So the underbelly took the money and took the weapons, or they might have just got the weapons. Took the weapons and bounced. It's letting you know the most Esau's diplomacy, their tricks of the trade aren't working like they used to now. But these tricks were how they overthrew governments for the last 30, 40, 50 years. I would say since the 80s. Because since the 80s, they got a lot of blowback for how the CIA would go into countries and take countries out. So they had to do it with USAID, National Endowment for Democracy. They had to do all these little George Soros operations to take over countries. But so exactly, they didn't get 10 cents. and listen, now, how do you feel now? But with that verse 12 explained, let's go to verse 13. So we got that so far, right? Hello, we got that, right?
God.
Okay. Let's go to verse 13.
Revelation 16:13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits, like frogs.
Now listen, we got to explain this. There's 3 unclean spirits. It's still in the region. There are 3 negative spirits that are established in the region of the Euphrates River, and it's said like frogs. I want to focus on frogs real quick. Frogs are known for how fertile they are and how many thousands of eggs they have every mating season, and there's multiple mating seasons in the year. So frogs multiply at a very fast rate. So whatever we're understanding here, whatever these 3 spirits are, these 3 spirits are multiplying at an alarmingly fast rate in the region, and whatever reverberates in the region, it ends up reverberating around the world. So these 3 spirits are multiplying fast. Unclean spirits are multiplying fast. Read verse 13 from the top.
God. And I saw 3 unclean spirits, like frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon.
So he's saying these 3 unclean spirits are coming out of the mouth of the dragon. Read on. That's one of the unclean spirits. Read on.
And out of the mouth of the beast.
The beast is another unclean spirit. Read on.
And out of the mouth of the false prophet.
And out of the mouth of the false prophet is the 3rd unclean spirit. Now we have to make sure we explain all of these 3 unclean spirits. Okay? Anyway. Okay. So we're going to explain these 3 unclean spirits. One is the dragon, one is the beast, and one is the false prophet. So we're going to start off explaining the dragon. Okay? Now, the first thing you have to understand is that the dragon is, there's different dragons. And I'm not going to go into the first dragon. We know the one dragon, when you explain it, is the actual spiritual demon Satan. And we've gone into that a little bit on these Satan classes, because we went into how like the nations worship the literal dragon because they get their power from them. But the dragon is also explained as the elites of the Edomite nation, or the elites of the 7 heads and 10 horns. They're the dragon also, because they're the ones that have the direct connection to Satan. We're going to go into it and prove it. Let's go Revelations chapter 12 and verse 3.
Revelation 12:3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven.
Another wonder in heaven. Heaven is on earth. So it was another nation in power on earth. Okay? Read on.
And behold, a great red dragon.
This dragon is red. This dragon is red. Read on.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns. And we know the 7 heads and the 7 heads are talking about the 7 nations that the Edomite nation had power on earth throughout their reign on earth. They had the Greeks. They had the Romans. Then they were not in power for 1,000 years. Then they reemerged as the Spanish. Okay? Once the Spanish had their reign, the next world power was the French. Then you had the Germans, the Russians, and the British. Okay? So all 7 of those empires are a part of the 7 heads of this dragon. This red dragon. We know Esau is red. And those 10 horns are referring to the tributaries, or NATO, or the supporting countries, Edomite countries, that supported the head when they were in power. Whether when the Romans were in power, you had a bunch of different tributaries in the region that supported Rome's empire. Same thing with the Greeks. And then it worked their way to the Spanish, French, so forth and so on. And you had the British, you had all the empires and the vassals. The tin horns are vassals also that support the dragon. Okay? So just explaining, and we're going to go into a little more detail about this, but that dragon are the elites and the heads of the Edomite nation. And I want to go to another verse to kind of prove that and to solidify where we're going with this. So what we're going to do is go to Revelations 18.
Oh.
And this kind of lets you know and explains in a little more detail that we're talking about not just Esau as a whole, we're talking about the elite of Esau, the elite of these 7 kings, okay, or the 7 heads. Read Revelations 18, verse 2 and 3, and then verse 23.
Revelation 18 and 2.
I'll say it correct.
Read that out.
And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen.
Now listen, this Revelations 18 talks about the end of the Babylonian American Empire. If we went to Psalms 137, it will talk about that Babylon is what? The virgin daughter of what?
Babylon.
Well, Edom is the virgin daughter of Babylon. Edom, Esau's empire, is the virgin daughter of Babylon. So when you read about Babylon has fallen, we know it's not talking about Iraq has fallen.
Yeah.
But in their theology, they say that.
But
in their false theology.
and that's why I wanted to say it ain't talking about Iraq. Iraq is not a world power right now.
I always thought that when I was Jake in church, it was like that doesn't mean America. That means the people are going to war right now. They're going to war right now. What Saddam Hussein.
And that's why God calls him the false prophet. We'll go on that in a little bit. But Babylon is talking about America. But read on. Read verse 2 again.
And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils.
He says, Babylon is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils. We're going to go into the definition of devils in a little bit. But just on the surface, the habitation of devils is an evil, godless country. And the United States is empowered because of the premise of freedom. But freedom has been exploited into corruption and manipulated into corruption. This is the place where you can be whatever you want, whatever foul personality you want to be, whatever 5-letter word sex you want to be, whatever impulse you want to be and tap into, you can do it. And that's what it means. This is a habitation of devils. No spiritually principled people around. Read on.
And has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit.
This is the country where every foul and evil sensation is nurtured and fed. Okay, even I was watching today, and it's not necessarily about morals, but even in the food, the things that are classified as food in this country aren't classified as food in other places. Just everything foul and corrupt you can tap into is here. Inordinate eating, inordinate living, inordinate everything's here. Read on.
And the cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
And you know what? All those unclean and hateful birds that were kicked out of Germany, they're right here now. And all those sensations and created and nurtured are nurtured and mastered here. Every vice industry is mastered here.
The libertine groups, the groups that push libertinism.
It's mastered. I'm just going to say every vice industry is perfected.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to tap into, there's a place for
So
it.
number one is export.
Exactly. Vice. So let's continue.
Verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
All nations have fed into their policies, their idea of democracy, their idea of freedom. Listen, they have literally sat back here. Esau have done psychological evaluations, and what they do is they understand that if you want to break down a country, you have to fuel the sentiments of a woman. and I'm not, I'm knocking women in general, but when you fuel to the sentiments of women, that's the one way in to break down countries. This is why even in the Middle East, they've been pushing about why do women have to wear hijabs? Women exploitation. Women are getting taken advantage of. They got to be empowered. Now, as much as there might be some truth to it, it shouldn't be pushed to where you actually destroy the fabric of another country's way of doing things.
Yeah.
And they use women's rights to cripple a regime. Well, they did it in the United States in the 70s when women were burning bras. That was the destruction of the nuclear family. Women started getting pay raises, and then you started having latchkey kids. Kids waking up, watching Sanford and Son out, ruining their lives out.
Taking a barefoot to go to school. Right?
Listen, watching Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
Whatever you was watching, you weren't raised by your mom. You weren't raised by parental figures.
Come on.
That's all I'm saying.
They're breaking the nuclear family, and that means that the children have to be raised by the state.
Exactly.
And that's a communist concept.
So this approach has been done all around the world. They're just trying to take it to the Middle East. With that being the case, we're just explaining the attributes of the United States and how this is being pushed on the entire world. You got Ham out there killing. We ain't gonna push these 5 little words out. Ham is going to war over that out. You remember, why are you gay? They're going to ride with that spirit. We are not letting this happen in some of our countries out. They're not going to let it happen.
But a couple of them let it happen.
A couple of them do, but the other ones are fighting for it. They're fighting to not let it happen.
What tribe are you? She can't say what tribe because they're going to take it.
Yeah. She's never going to say where.
Everybody's proud of their tribe over there.
Yeah.
She can't say her tribe for what reason? Because it's not.
They're going to bring machetes to the house out.
Oh yeah.
They don't care about. They're not going to waste weapons. They don't have enough money for bullets out.
They're not going to court.
They're going to use sweat and a blunt knife out.
They're going to your house.
With a blunt knife. They're not even going to sharpen it. I don't give a damn.
Do this out of our village.
Yes. And they're going to walk off bloody out.
Anyway, play so you ever seen some people on fire in Hamland out? When they do discipline out, they say, "Listen, you violated." They pour gasoline on them,
and they roll you down the hill.
And they light them on fire. Right?
Kyle Cobb said they do that in Guatemala. If they catch a child toucher, the whole people will sit back and snatch them out of the house, and they'll sit back from there, and all of a sudden you'll see this guy rolling down the hill out in a ball of flame, but they put it in like a barrel. They'll put him in a barrel, right? And he's rolling down the hill out. That's street justice. Point is, what am I trying to explain? The nations have bought in to this liberal world, to this liberal type of mindset. Read on.
Con, verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her.
Mm-hmm. And the kings of the earth, the other leaders of the world, have bought into the American way of life. And we can see that all around the world. Whether it's Japan, whether it's South Korea, most of the countries have bought into the democratic way of life. But democratic way of life also means liberalism and the corruption of whatever family values you have. But let's continue.
And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich.
But now he's getting specific. We know the beast, we know the dragon is the Edomite nation. We know the 7 heads or the different empires during different times of the world. But he says the merchants of the earth are waxed rich. Read on.
Through the abundance of her delicacies.
What are these delicacies? The vice industry. All the ways of manipulating the stock markets and manipulating the food markets and manipulating what foods are bought and sold. How they operate the delicacies of life. The merchants are getting rich. But who are the merchants? BlackRock. You don't know who the merchants are. Everybody wants to say, yeah, it's the Vanderbilts, it's the Rockefellers. But they don't really know because there's no paper trail. You just see BlackRock, Vanguard. You see all these major corporations that are run by money managers. And that's it. In this way, the trail never gets back to the real elites, the real merchants of the earth. We're not listening. Your regular cat working the HEB is not a merchant of the earth. A regular guy that's opening a corner store is not the merchants of the earth. The merchants are the ones who really deal with these multi-billion-dollar deals. Like Trump went to Saudi Arabia and did some $500 billion deal with AI. And they're using whatever minerals and substances that are going on in the Middle East to sit back and expand the future of AI. And whatever they got going on, they're going to put billions into it to make more than billions. And that's how they do business. So those are the merchants of the earth, the true elites. Okay? So read on. Now we're going to verse 23.
The financial elite.
They're the financial elite, and they're the ones that are pushing the buttons and dispersing the information downhill. Because the true merchants of the earth are also the ones who own the media. The merchants of the earth own the media empire. That is an aspect of mercantilism. Because you need the media, you use the media to do what?
To sell.
To influence, but it's to sell.
To sell war.
The media is to sell whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
You sell vice, you sell sex, you sell fear, you sell impulse. That's what the media is for in general. And the merchants of the earth control that. So jump to verse 23.
Revelations 18 and 23. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee.
This is talking about the fall of the United States, the fall of the hegemony of the United States. And there's not going to be any fun, any happiness. That's why you read verse 22. The voice of the harpers and the musicians and the pipers ain't going to be there. There ain't going to be no more Little Baby albums out. There ain't going to be no more Miley Cyrus albums. There's not going to be no more damn Taylor Swift. There no more Swifties out. All that stuff's out of here, right? Okay? Whatever your genre is. I didn't say Swifties first, because I don't think anybody here is listening to that. But, but some people will sit back and be no more Chris Brown out. No more Chris Brown albums out. All right? No more whatever you into. Whatever your ears are. No more music out. Huh?
There's no more industry for that.
Yeah? No more Kendrick. Well, he ain't making music anyway, so.
Never does.
He's already no more Kendrick. Had to say that.
Yeah, the one song.
You sit back and destroy a person. You destroy the person's career. You ain't even making music. But anyway, whatever. So let's continue. Read verse 23. Continue. If you're the king of rap, why don't you make albums? Why don't you make music?
You gotta wait 5 years.
You sit back and make a whack album and stop. It was horrible. That last album sucked. Am I the only person who saw it? Who thought that? The last 2 albums sucked.
I tried.
And then you back out? It was whack. We use these corny sounds. These corny little sounds. These whacking versions of your voice. Just rap. Anyway, let's get back to the prophecies of God, okay? Listen, tell me really how you feel, War. I just did. It sucks. Let's read verse 23. I hope he's listening.
It says, and the light of the candle shall shine no more at all.
So he says the light of this country will shine no more. Read on.
And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee.
There's not going to be any more joy in this place. Read on.
For thy merchants were great men of the earth.
The merchants were the great men of the earth. That was the point I was going. They were the great men, the people who was in control of the media and the money and the finances and everything. Don't forget, Bill Gates is a servant. Don't forget that. All the people that you see on the television serve the real ones that are in power. When you read All in Job, the wicked are in the background. Nobody knows them. Your Zuckerbergs, all these guys, your Elon Musk, all these guys were tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, you got to be up front.
It's your time.
People don't even realize J.P. Morgan, as big as he did multi-billion-dollar business at a time where it took a lot to make billions.
He was one of the big 3 that ran America.
But when he died, he didn't have a lot of assets to go by. Why is that? How come this guy that made all this money had no assets? Because he was sitting back here and following the orders of people behind him. What people don't understand is the Rothschilds, for example, had such a bad reputation in Europe, they couldn't come down to the United States without getting a lot of blowback. So they just chose to finance Rockefellers and Morgans. But they really work for who? The big guys. So the people that have real power, you just don't see them. So all these guys that are rich and famous, they're following orders. And if they ever choose not to follow orders, you won't see them no more. So with that being the case, the merchants, the real people making the moves behind the scene, they were the great men. They were the dragon. That was the point I'm trying to explain. So read that part where it says, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth. Read on.
For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived.
All sorcery is manipulation of items, manipulation of natural resources, manipulation. I have newts, this, put them together and we get something. Right?
Sorcery.
Mandrake. Well, that's what sorcery is. Sorcery is just the manipulation of natural resources and you bring it together to create something. This is what sorcery is even now. It's just the manipulation of resources. Music industry, transportation, oil, gas. It's just a manipulation of the scenario.
It's control people.
Did you hear what Trump said when they're talking about like the fact that the Saudi Arabian region might not have oil? They said, well, if you guys don't have oil, you can go to us. Like, whoa! If you need LNG, go to the United States for LNG. But U.S. LNG is like 3 times more than LNG in Saudi Arabia. So yeah, they don't care that the Saudi Arabian region blows up. You got to go to us for everything. You see that? It's the manipulation of markets, the manipulation of other people's natural resources. Other people's natural resources. That's the sorcery that deceived the nations by. Because with the manipulation of the markets, the manipulation of media, the whole world is deceived. Remember back in the 90s or in the 80s when American prestige was top of the line? Everybody in Europe wanted the McDonald's burger. Everybody in Europe wanted the Pepsi. And they sat back here and they gave up their sovereignty for some goddamn Pepsi and some Coca-Cola.
Well, the image
and
is
some
powerful.
bad McDonald's fries.
But the image is
they don't want that bad. But you get my point. They're bad for you.
Good back then.
They were bad for
They
you.
had that tallow. It was pretty
Listen,
good.
listen.
For the corn. Anyways.
Whatever the case is, what am I saying? The whole world was hypnotized with the idea of American made.
Yeah.
American made everything.
Look at the media.
Listen, you ever see those Japanese out there always sitting back here singing 50s music? Like, what are you doing? Isn't your music good enough, Why you gotta sit back here and play all these 50s
No
and act
kimonos.
like you're doing something special?
Greasers now.
Like you're doing, they're doing they're greasers. Like, what are you doing, Why don't you wear your kimonos? No, that ain't hot in the streets. We go, remember like Kill Bill? And that Japanese, like, woo, 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 woo. Like, why are you doing that, bro? Why are you playing that music? Woo, 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 woo. And whatever 88 was sitting back here listening to it, jamming out with this whack 50s music out. Why don't you make new stuff out in the streets? Anyway, the culture of the United States had the entire country just mystified. Was that you got Koreans doing boy band stuff? Where'd they get it from? They got it from Backstreet Boys and all those dudes. It's the truth. They took it from them, and they're still doing boy bands and girl bands. Like, well, can you just be creative? No, the American way. We will be Backstreet Boys. Like, are you serious? That's played out.
The most dominant social culture came out of the States.
Huh?
The most dominant social culture came out of the States.
What he said.
It's true.
They get it like,
And then they play the hell out of it.
They still breakdancing. They breakdancing horrible.
goes out in America.
Japan right now.
Remember that Gangnam style live? I'm like, bro, can you sit back here? You're playing the hell out of that. So what are you doing? I forgot how the melody it was just a burnout. It was a burnout. I was like, can we stop?
He hates his life.
Okay, we got it. I know he
hates his life.
It's like, bro,
10,000 times.
You gotta stop it. Gangnam style.
Look, it was cool in 6th grade.
Bro, listen, I wasn't in 6th grade when it came out.
We was in the guys at homecoming.
I was like, bro, this has got to stop.
hit back in the day. That's all I got to say.
Listen, I wasn't. Listen, it didn't come out when I was in 6th grade. I was like, we gotta clip this. Oh, this has got to stop. This has got to stop. Anyway, we're just explaining how Esau's influence on the world has got them confused and deceived. And it has to do with propaganda, media power, and it all starts from the top down. The elites that control everything goes downhill. So when you read about the dragon, going back to the point, let's go back to 16, Revelation 16 again, and read verse 13. This is taking time, but we have to take our time to explain it or it doesn't make sense.
Revelation 16:13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits, like frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon.
So to come out the mouth of the dragon, we know that now the dragon is the elites of the 7 heads and 10 horns of the Edomite kingdom, the elites of the Edomite kingdom. And it says this unclean spirit is coming out of their mouth, meaning it's an instruction, it's an order, it's a mindset that they're trying to set up to justify the United States, Britain, and all the world to enter into this region of the Euphrates, to eventually go to war to steal the natural resources of the region. That entire region, yes, it's about the water, but it's beyond just the water. The water and the friction that's used to create the war was the pretext to go in and steal the oil. Syria's oil, Iraq's oil, Iran's oil, Kuwait's oil. It still goes right down to that region, that Euphrates River region that has the water and the oil and the natural gas LNG that's being warred for. And then everybody else's oil is controlled by the dragons of the east, which are Edomites. Have you ever seen the Saudi prince, the Qatar prince, the prince of Jordan, the prince of UAE, the prince of Bahrain? They all look like Edomites because they are Edomites. Everybody else in the region is sand niggas or Pakistanians, but they're Edomites. And they're really the juice. And I really can't go into the detail. I'll go into that detail another time. But the dragons of the east are Edomites that were backed, and Edomite families backed over the early 1900s by the British Empire. Allowed them to stay in and maintain their seat and their position. But everybody else has their own sovereignty and they're fighting over that region. Anyway, so we know the mouth of the dragon is talking about the elites of the nation. Read on.
And out of the mouth of the beast.
Out of the mouth of the beast is still talking about the Edomite nation. Because whatever mindset, whatever propaganda is pushed from the elites is regurgitated by the rest of the nation. Have you ever seen those, not a meme, but it's like a caption on like TikTok or Twitter or Instagram? Have you ever seen it to where they'll sit back and send you 40, it'll be like one clip and it's 40 reporters. And they're all regurgitating the same line.
At the same exact time.
At the same exact time.
Morning news and midday news from your counties and your cities are all saying the same exact word for word statement.
And that's
as if they're saying it, but why are all of you saying the same exact concept?
You ever see that? There's news Oklahoma, they say one thing. Then Florida says the same
They're
thing.
all different,
Then
right?
Texas says the same thing. In Arizona and Cali, they say the same company
at the same time.
Why and how? Because the Edomite nation is under orders from the elites to communicate and explain a narrative. Whatever narrative that is, that's being pushed.
Over and over and over.
Over and over and over again. And so we can see this in the scripture when we go to Revelations chapter 13 and verse 1.
You said Revelation 13?
And 1.
Come.
And then we're going to jump to 18.
Come. Revelation chapter 13 and verse 1 reads, And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
Now we just read in Revelation chapter 12 that a dragon came out of the sea. Right? Now we're reading about a beast coming out of the sea. Now that dragon had 7 heads and 10 horns. We're going to find out what this beast has. Read on.
And saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So the dragon and the beast are of the same Edomite empire. But the dragon is just your top of the line echelon nation. The beast is the machine that manages and runs the system for the elites. Okay? It's still the Edomite system. But the Edomite system still has elected officials, has governments, has a focus, and has a priority that's pushed from the top that is executed by your Trumps, by your Emmanuel Macrons, by your Starmers from England, your Putins in Russia. They're still under orders, following this system of the beast. Okay? Read on.
And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of
And
blasphemy.
these 10 horns are the vassals or NATO that backs the United States. Even though portions of the horns now are starting to break off from the beast, but that's in prophecies 2 in Revelation 17. Because at the end, the 10 horns are going to turn on the beast and destroy it. But there's a period of time that has to happen before we get to that point. So, what we're reading in chapter 13, verse 1 is explaining that this beast is still the 7 head, which is all the Edomite empires all throughout time that had power, and their vassals. Let that go and go to verse 18.
Verse 18. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man,
Mm-hmm.
and his number is 666.
All we need to know is that this man or this beast is a man. So going back, we got to get back to the point. Revelation 16 and 13 said these 3 unclean spirits moved like frogs, meaning expanded greatly and fastly. Out of the mouth of the dragon, which is the elites, out of the mouth of the beast, which is America, the United States, because they're the nation on top right now. You have your elites, then you have the United States, which is the beast. Okay? Which is the America, which is the latter end of the Who Empire, the British Empire. That's who the beast is. Read on.
And
No, I got to read one more verse on that point. This is Revelations 13, verse 11 and 12.
13 and 11. Got it.
And 12.
Got it. Revelation chapter 13, verse
The
11.
reason we're going here is to specify which beast we're talking about. We know the beast is a nation, and we know the dragon is the elite of the nation. Read on. And we know the elites are the ones that are in a complete background that nobody knows. The beasts are the ruling class of a particular nation. Read on.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 11 reads, And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb.
This particular beast had 2 horns like a lamb. The 2 horns is the United States and Britain together. And they're like a lamb because they project that it's about love, democracy.
Freedom.
We're here to liberate the poor Kuwaitis.
They're wolves in sheep's clothing.
But they project like they're the defender of the weak.
We're
They're
the
the defender of we want to give you sovereignty.
Let's liberate them.
We think you guys in Taiwan deserve sovereignty.
Operation Iraqi
China
freedom.
shouldn't be sitting back here and doing you guys like that. And you know what? We're going to sit back and liberate the Iraqi people.
We defend women's rights. We
Yes.
want women to be free.
They shouldn't have to wear hijabs.
But
so let's bring homosexuality.
Yes, let's bring OnlyFans.
Take off those
OnlyFans account.
Let's do toga parties.
Yeah, exactly. Look, we don't want women to be exploited, but we want y'all to.
This is pornography.
But let's go ahead and have the little boys. The paralyzed money. I can't waste my check. I mean, guys waste.
How come they don't sit back here and say we're against these little boys being boy toys to these Afghanistani leaders? They never say that
because they're not against that.
Because I'm not gonna lie. If you sit back and look into the Ishmael culture, they literally pay for little boys out, and they got to be prostitutes for it. Because the parents can't pay, they're impoverished. So they take their little 8-year-old boy out and teach him how to sit back here and dance for men.
And they get it's called the Dancing Boys. And y'all should. I think it's a documentary.
Bad name than that.
It's a documentary. Well, come on, but we can't go crazy on the web.
I'm just saying.
Come
I
on,
was like
brother.
Dancing Boy.
Listen,
whatever it is bad, and
something.
they don't sit back and talk about that as bad.
Yeah.
But these women better not be in order, and they better not serve their husband. But let these young boys dance for these men. Yeah. You see the hypocrisy here? It's crazy, huh?
But they project that they care for the people.
Yes.
They project that they care about people's rights.
And that's the
But
lamb.
you're not about that. It's the image of that care and concern, and we're really the protectors of the earth, and we have no harm. We mean no harm.
Yeah. Well, we got to protect these poor Ukrainians. What? But you've been financing them for 10
Poor
years
little boys
to go to war.
They never hurt nobody.
They deserve their sovereignty. But we're giving you weapons to take out Russia.
And bioweapon labs right on the border within the border of Russia.
Yeah. But the point is this. That is the game. That's how things are manipulated.
Yeah.
And that's where we at. So it says 2 horns like a lamb, which is really talking about the Anglo-American Empire. The Anglo-American Empire is the connection between Britain and the United States.
That's important.
They're thick as thieves. All the other NATO countries are more joint. They're less connected, like Britain. Britain and the United States are like this. They're the United States' strongest allies.
Oh, I got to ask a question. Is it like that symbol of the double-headed eagle?
Oh no! You don't gotta go. No. It's not necessarily that. Okay. It's just 2 horns of a lamb. Okay. There are 2 horns.
2 powers.
Powers just mean horns means powers. There are 2 powers that makes up one beast.
That pretends to
and the whole thing is democracy. It's their doctrine. It's the wine that intoxicates the world.
The influence.
So read verse 11 again.
Come. Revelation chapter 13, verse 11 reads, And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns, like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
Mm-hmm. They spake as a dragon, powerful. Read on verse 12.
And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him.
So listen, the United States exercised all the power of the first beast before the United States. Who was the beast before the U.S.? It was England. So they're saying the United States is operating with the same power that the British operated in. The British, when you look at the British, it says the sun doesn't what on the British Empire?
Never sets.
The sun never sets on the British Empire.
That's the common statement.
Britain had control over the entire world because of the potency of their navy.
Now, you mean India? You mean
the whole world? Wherever the sun sets, that's where the sun
runs. It was all over the world. Yeah.
So, the United States operates with the same level of power and even greater in most places. And they've maintained that same, listen, not just in military power, in military strategy, in divide and conquer strategy. They learn from the best. Listen, the reason the people of India and Pakistan hate each other was thanks to the British. The people of India and Pakistan operated in harmony until after the British left in 1945 and moved all of the Hindus to one side of the country and moved all of the Muslims to the other side of the country. They moved all the Muslims to the west and called it Pakistan. And they moved everybody from their land from the west, moved to the right if you were Hindu. And they caused automatic beef and set trip. They did the same thing in Palestine. In Palestine, people operate, Christians, Muslims, Jewish people, they all operated in harmony until the British came and started dividing up land masses. This has been the divide and conquer strategy that the British instilled to the United States, and they do that to this day. Okay, same thing with Ukraine and Russia. This is how they do things. So read on in verse 12.
God, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
And that same beast is still talking about the Edomite Empire, whose wound was healed in 1492. And that was the beginning of Esau's dominance and reconquering of the earth through the Spanish Empire. Okay, so let that go. Now we're going to go back to Revelation 16. So far, are we clear on what we're explaining? We've explained two of the three spirits. Okay? We haven't gone into the specifics of what these spirits are doing. We're not going into the specifics of what they're pushing. We're just explaining that the dragon are the elites, and we're also explaining that the beast is the United States, backed by the British Empire. Okay? Now let's sit back here and read 13 again from the top.
Revelation 16 to 13. And I saw three unclean spirits, like frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet.
So listen, what we're talking about now, we're going to explain what this false prophet is. The false prophet is the religious institutions of the world that are being exploited and used to further Esau's agenda.
And they operate by making sure their doctrines coincide with government sentiments. So if the government pushes, these people come together, they coagulate, they have these meetings.
Coagulate. Hell yeah, they coagulate. There's a whole lot of coagulation going on.
They come together. They come together and they make sure they push the talking points.
And
it happens every election.
And that's what I was going to explain.
You see it every
I want to bring this part out real quick. I didn't heavily focus on it yet. But those three unclean spirits were used as a manipulation tool to destroy other people's countries. Specifically, propaganda. Propaganda was the method in which to bring and galvanize all the world to destroy the Middle East and divvy up the resources for all of these countries. Yeah. Starting from the U.S. first, then divvy up to Britain and all the other NATO countries. So propaganda was the spirit of those three unclean spirits. But the propaganda initiates from the dragon, the elites, works his way to the rest of the nation, and the false prophet or the religious institutions. Propaganda, won't forget, the reason we're going into this topic today was we were explaining the method by which the Most High uses Esau to bring this world to destruction. Last week, we read about the Most High's intention to bring the entire world together in this Middle East region to destroy it. To destroy all the nations. Gather your weapons up, we're going to destroy it. But the motivating tool that was used to bring these people in is the propaganda that makes the United States as potent as it is. Now, as we read on how the Most High says their stink is starting to rise up because the propaganda isn't working like it used to. Everybody hasn't bought in to the propaganda like they did in 1990.
And the statement.
Everybody was going crazy for the USA in the 90s, bro. Yeah. We sat back here. I'm proud to be an American.
It's a big song.
Everybody loved that song. Who didn't love that song? If you was loving, you was God and country out. You played the hell out of that country.
I was playing that song too. I was a kid out. We had some school in the gym out.
Are you serious,
man, bro? It was crazy,
proud to be an American.
Every time something good happened,
remember that song?
They catch the football, they score a touchdown, they play a song, proud. Like everything that good that happened, they play a song in the background.
And that's the
it made me feel like
listen, they might not have played it in Flint, man, but they played it in American based countries. That was too Jew of a town. They didn't think the propaganda would work in Flint. But in other places, they played it. It's the truth, right? It's the truth. Listen, all I'm saying is
Flint wasn't a part of the process.
they didn't need to do it Friday. Let's bypass Flint. Let's go to Detroit out. Let's go right to Detroit. Let's deal with Detroit out. Let's do what their needs out. Let's get their minds together out. We don't need Gary, Indiana. We don't need Flint. We don't need none of these places out. We need Detroit. What am I trying to? I'm just joking, my one. Flint deserves love too.
We love Flint, Michigan.
Listen, we're supposed to fish in Flint. So Flint's cool with me. But propaganda.
We like Jackson too. We love the Jackson. I love Jackson.
That's Gary, Indiana, though.
But it's still the same thing. It's the same.
That's why I said that they weren't pushing propaganda in Gary, Indiana. They didn't care. It was there. Dayton, Ohio. Today, that's another one of those places. But what am I trying to say? All we're saying is the propaganda are those three unclean spirits. Or the propaganda is the spirit. And that propaganda was pushed from the dragon, the elites, the beast of the United States, and the religious institution was pushing this propaganda to the world, painting a picture like if you're Muslim, you're the devil. Saddam Hussein is the butcher of Baghdad. He's the one sitting back here sending chemical weapons all throughout the poor Iranian people, but you gave them the chemical weapons to actually kill the Iranians. You don't say that. And for those who might not know, I remember there was this little people thought she was Iraqi or Kuwaiti. She was on C-SPAN, and you guys can look on Twitter and find it if you want. She sat back here and explained that these Iraqi soldiers went into Kuwait. And they went to this Kuwaiti hospital, and they took these babies out of incubators and threw them on the ground and killed innocent babies out. And the United States government said, "What the hell? We're going to destroy these guys. We're going to destroy Saddam Hussein." And then come to find out that young girl that said she was in Kuwait, she was this little girl from Kuwait. She was the daughter of the president of Jordan, and he was the ambassador of. He was the Jordanian ambassador living in New York City. So she wasn't even there, right? But they created this story. They knew she had to look. She painted the picture of these Iraqis going in this hospital and killing innocent babies, and that was the draw. Once that came out, you got the national sentiment on your side, and so we're gonna get them. But in actuality, Saddam Hussein was reporting to the United States and saying, "Listen, man. These Kuwaitis are slant drilling on my land. They're taking my oil. I'm just trying to see if it's okay if we invade Kuwait so we can sit back and square this situation up." The United States said, "Yes, you guys can." And as soon as Saddam did it, they set him up. Then they sat back and set this propaganda campaign as a justification to enter the region and start acquiring resources. So they went to Kuwait, brokered the deal with Kuwait, saying, "Listen, we'll back you up, but we need a piece of this Kuwait oil." And what did the Kuwaitis do? You got it. Then shortly after that, I forgot the specific year. I think it was 2001. After 9/11, some more propaganda to even set that up. And when the war tower, the Twin Towers was destroyed, the first place they went to was Iraq. Even though Saddam Hussein was in Afghanistan. Why would you go to Iraq first? There was no reports about Saddam being in Iraq. So why go to Iraq? They went to Iraq, huh? I'm gonna say this: once the Twin Towers was destroyed, within an hour, they said, "This is Saddam. This is Bin Laden did this." Yeah. Within an hour, they knew. Then they said, "Okay." Then they said, "Bin Laden is where?" Bin Laden was in Afghanistan, and they knew that. Why did they go to Iraq?
Good question. American people don't know the difference.
Huh?
The American people don't know the difference.
They went right to Iraq and they destroyed Saddam, his country. And then they controlled all his oil. Then after they got that taken care of, then they went to Afghanistan. Why would you do that?
The poppy fields.
Oh, and then we're going to control that. They're going to control that.
Industry. Who uses poppy fields?
Because what they don't tell you is when people went to Afghanistan after the quote-unquote war, the farmers were not allowed to farm anything but poppy. And then they were like, how can we even sit back here and grow wheat? He says, no. The man says if I put wheat, I can't make money. They won't pay me. So I grow poppy. And what they don't tell you is the poppy, all the heroin production, guess where it went? Guess where all the poppy seed stuff and all the heroin that was produced from the opium, where did it go? It went to Russia to dope up the Russians out. Didn't properly. They don't even tell you that. They used the money to weaken Russia and get them high. Because at the time, the Russians were sitting back here just drinking vodka and being prostitutes after they fell. After democracy came to Russia, what do you call it?
The Red Curtain fell, right?
After Russia fell, the Soviet Union fell, not Russia, but Soviet Union, then prostitution was on the rise and alcoholism was on the rise. There was no jobs nowhere. So then all of a sudden the cocaine came down there, the opium came down there. They were just doping up the people and weakening them because they were going to come here and completely take them over. That's what was happening. Point is, what am I trying to say? The propaganda is what justified the entire world, United States, NATO countries, into the region to start meddling into the country because Russia was weak. But these are the three unclean spirits that destroyed the region. We're going to explain it in more detail in a little bit.
And this is on a world scale. Because
you have to understand this this is geopolitics. And if you don't understand, the most I keep saying, I want you focusing on the Euphrates River, from Lebanon to Japan. Focus on that region. Does Israel focus on that region? Hell no. We focus on our block.
Compton.
On our block. Compton. It's the city I'm from. Okay.
And your boy Kennedy's from Compton?
How dare Drake talk about the West Coast?
Everybody's focused on that one.
Let's focus on that.
What's going on?
So we get the point. So there's no focus on where the Most High really wants our focus.
Exactly.
So read verse 13 again.
Revelation 16 and 13.
It's true.
And I saw three unclean spirits, like frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon.
So once again, Esau threw from the elites, read on.
And out of the mouth of the beast.
From the United States, the head horn of the nation, read on.
And out of the mouth of the false prophet.
And out of the mouth of the false prophet. Now I'm going to play something for y'all. So this is what's happening now with the United States and Iran. And we're going to watch something from the White House off of Twitter. You guys can listen to it online, please do. And this is like the head preacher in the White House. And he sits back here and sends a prayer. He's a Christian. Sends a prayer for the United States.
Oh, you can throw them. Do your dance.
Yes.
Wanting to kill every Jew, woman, child, and do it all in one day.
What he's doing, he's quoting the story of Esther. And he's quoting the story of Esther when the wicked Persian king, or the Iranians, tried to kill all the Jews in one day. He's trying to go into the Purim story. And he's using the Purim story to try to parallel into the United States being the victim. And the United States has to defend the poor Jews people from being exploited by the evil Iranians like it happened back during the time of Esther. This is what he's explaining.
And he raised up Esther to save the Jewish people. Father, we thank you.
This music is awesome.
Yeah.
Today, the Iranians, the wicked regime.
He says the Iranians, the wicked regime, the image, you see the words on there, so if it's a little crazy with the sound, just read it.
This government wants to kill every Jew and destroy them with an atomic fire.
They said that the reason the United States has to go to Iran is because the Iranians want to kill every Jew and destroy them with atomic fire. When have they shown that in the 47 years that they've been blockaded and sanctioned? In 47 years, they didn't do that. The only country with nuclear bombs is in Dimona. So what's the point? The point is, it's a one. I think it's a brother trying to come in super late in class. But anyway, he doesn't know. Probably ain't been there before. So once again, I'm gonna play it again a little bit further back. I'm gonna stop stopping it like an idiot and just let it play.
But you raised up Esther to save the Jewish people. Father, we thank you. Today, the Iranians, the wicked regime of this government, wants to kill every Jew and destroy them with an atomic fire.
And that's a lie. That's
But you
propaganda.
have raised up President Trump.
But the Lord raised up Trump to save the Jews from these wicked Iranians, just like Esther was raised up to save the Jews from the wicked Iranians.
You have raised him up for such a time as this. And Father, we pray that you'll give him victory.
This is a Christian preacher saying
to
this.
watch over, protect them. Father, we pray for the people of Iran who want freedom to be set free from these Islamic lunatics. Father, we thank you to your Son, Jesus Christ, who came to this earth to take our sins, that he died and shed his blood on a cross for our sins, that he was buried, he took our sins to the grave, but you raised him to life. And Father, we thank you, and we praise you, and we give you the glory. Father, protect President Trump. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Listen, all that is propaganda, and it is a perfect example of propaganda. How religion is being used to still push government agenda. If that's not the false prophet, I don't know what it is. You think that this is the first time politics was tied into religion to convince an entire nation to lock in to the United States way of life? Listen, there is literally a church on 1604 in Stone Oak that literally is tied in to Zionism. Okay? And they're financed and backed by these groups, and they use Christian rhetoric to push the political agenda or the propaganda of the beast and of the dragon. And these are the spirits or the three unclean spirits that spread throughout the world to get everybody to be convinced to send their children and their sons and their daughters and their voting power and their tax money to go right down here to the Middle East to go to war. And this is the Most High's intent. And this is what Revelation 16 is all about. The propaganda being used from all these different resources. The elites are funding the propaganda, the media. The media empire is pushing the people. The people are being convinced by their local religious leaders. Everybody around is convinced that going down here to Iran is the move. Going down and taking Saddam Hussein was the move. I've seen interviews with military guys that went to Iraq and they said, listen, do you think it was worth it? These Delta Force guys says, nah, man. They said, at least back then, Saddam had control over the region. Now that nobody runs nothing, it's just anarchy. Different warring governments and tribes and groups are fighting for power in the region. There's no order. The only people who are benefiting is people who got the order. These are Delta Force guys saying this. It wasn't worth losing the men that we cared for.
Brothers, yeah.
Our brothers. But this is the point. But the propaganda drew everybody in. Now it's too late. Who voted for Trump? The lie was no more new wars in the region. The propaganda got you there to sit back and listen, there was a lot of blacks pushing for Trump.
Yeah.
I saw guys online said, niggas for Trump. You ever see that?
2024.
2024, niggas for Trump. People been pushing this for a long time. Now everybody's in the trick bag. Your MAGA dudes, You Jake dudes,
Yeah.
y'all listen. Now you gotta send your sons and daughters out here. That's propaganda.
But he gave them the concept, the idea of, you know what, we're not going to go to war. Who wouldn't vote for that?
Mhm.
He went for the idea of we're not going to deal with fatherless groups going to school in your school. Who wouldn't vote for that? What people wanted, he told what they wanted to hear, and then after all that, he switched up the sentiment and said, "We're going to go die for Mr.
And now you got your preacher just saying, man, thank the Lord for Trump. He's going to save us from these wicked Iranians that want to kill all the juices and burn them with atomic fire. Thank the Lord for Trump. Lord, come here and give Trump the ability to sit back here and save the people." Yeah, but
he only pushes that chords, wartime.
These sentimental chords out to get you to feel some way out when the music plays.
Yeah.
Because if you're a sucker, you'll get drawn in by the music.
It's the truth.
It must be true because listen to the music being played. Man, I want to. It's almost like when people sat back here, they play music like that cat thing that they were playing out. Remember that? Remember like a year ago they played that cat and they played the music with the cat crying out, and the kids would cry when the cat music came on out. Remember that?
Yeah.
Y'all remember that? There was a thing where there was a cat. They would sit back and put pictures of cats they're about to cry at. And they would put it in front of children, and children would cry when they see this crying cat.
Oh, man.
But it's the same thing they're doing with adults. Grown people. They'll play some music. Oh, proud to be an American. Let's go. With the same music trick.
And the movies, too.
They got you all hooked in, huh? Yes, sis. It's from 18 to 42. How about that? 18 to 42. Get ready. I don't give a damn. You got a pot belly. You gotta get ready. 42.
Yeah.
You better start working out now. Lose some weight. 42 years old.
It's crazy.
You gotta sit back here and it's like you're in Platoon. Ho Chi Minh is the son of a. You gotta sit back and run with these young kids out. Remember Platoon? Come on now. You gotta sit back here and run next to this Gomer Pyle guy out. Well, you're Gomer Pyle if you're 42 with a pot belly trying to get ready to go to war. You're the guy that's pulling up the rear, eating donuts out because you can't get off your vices. Anyway, read Revelation 16 and 12 again. Or 13 again.
Revelation 16 and 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits, like frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet.
And he says there's an unclean spirit coming from the elites, the nation, and their religious institutions that are pushing everybody to this region, to their eventual destruction. Tying this in with last week. Read verse 14.
For they are the spirits.
Matter of fact, I'm so sorry. Before we go past, let's explain something real quick concerning the false prophet. Let's go to Revelations chapter 20. I know it's taking some time, but I don't want to just rush through it and just try to say, yeah, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. We don't want to do that. So it's 20 and verse 2 and 3, and then 7 through 10.
Revelation chapter 20, verse 3. Starting at 2.
Yeah, 20 verse 2 and 3.
2 and 3. And then 7 and 10.
Yes.
Gotcha. Revelation chapter 20, verse 2. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years.
You know, that's too much. Skip that and jump to verse 7.
Verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison.
The 1,000 years is from 476 BC to 1453 AD. That was the time period when the Roman Empire fell, the Germanic tribes took over, and dark-skinned people controlled the world, whether it was the dark-skinned people of Europe or the dark-skinned Arabian people. For that 1,000-year period, Europeans didn't have power on earth. When they got back into power in 476 BC, or no, 476 AD to 1492 AD. That's the 1,000 year. 476 AD to 1492 AD And that's when the Spanish got back into power. When Spain got into power, they also, before they started taking out the Native Americans, they kicked out all the Jews, all the dark-skinned Jews out of Europe or out of Spain and Portugal. And they sat back here and kicked out the Moors. This was the beginning of Esau getting back into power. So they got loosed out of prison in 1482, 80. Read on.
Verse 8, and shall go out to deceive the nation.
Listen, from the beginning of them getting back into power, they've been lying, cheating, and stealing. This is the first thing they start doing is lying. What was the first thing the Spanish did? The funny thing is this, the Spanish kicked out the black Jews initially and said, listen, you guys can go to Portugal. Then they got to Portugal knowing the Portuguese were going to kick them out. They stayed there for a few years and said, you guys can't stay here either. You guys got to go. They're automatically lying off rip. Then the dark-skinned Jews, having to live and migrate to Africa. Then you look up and the slave trade kicks up right after that. And that's where everything happens. And then they go to the United States and the islands and they lie there. They sit back here and come in peace. And then they sit back here and they bring the sword. So they've been deceiving since they got back into power. Read on. So it's the beginning. The lies just morphed into propaganda. But the Edomite nation has been lying from the beginning. Read on.
28, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth.
And they've been deceiving the nations from the four corners of the earth since they got back into power and were loosed from prison and their Edomite nation restored. And they've been lying ever since. So when you read in Revelation 16, he's still telling you about these unclean spirits are just more skilled and efficient lies. Propaganda began to really rear its ugly head in the early 1900s when World War I started. That was when I think his name was Edward Bernays, who was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, is the one who created propaganda in the United States. He literally was a psychology major and figured out through their craft how to sit back here and start lying to people on a higher level. Edward Bernays. And after World War I, he started sitting back here and using his talents in the advertising industry. So you sit back and when they did the advertising campaign with women and cigarettes, that was Edward Bernays. Because before Edward Bernays, only men were smoking cigarettes. Then they started sitting back here and pushing propaganda to make the woman start to look bold and confident and empowered with cigarettes in her mouth. But it was a form of independence. Yeah. But they sat back here and targeted the women because they said, we're not making enough money from women taking cigarettes or using cigarettes because women who are feminine and they thought that was a masculine thing. So then propaganda comes in there and convinces the people that a woman smoking cigarettes is sexy. And all of a sudden, cigarette sales rise up. Then they use that same concept just to break down the country in general. But that propaganda was used since World War I and just kept building and building and escalating and perfecting itself to present day. So, they've been lying till they got back into power with the Spanish. Read on.
Gog and Magog to gather them together to battle.
So what is it saying? Propaganda has been used from the inception of the Spanish coming back into power until this final war with who? Russia. Propaganda is being used to this point. They're sitting back here and saying that Putin is a dictator. And he's not. They sit back here. If you've sat back and watched this Russian-Ukrainian conflict, it's been full of lies. They don't tell you that from 1945, the U.S. made an agreement with Russia not to bring NATO eastward. They were going to stop expanding NATO from Germany. And since 1945, they've been pushing NATO further and further and further east to where they were sitting back here and they were about to bring NATO to Ukraine. And that's when Russia said, we're done. We're not going to have nukes and missile silos set up in Ukraine to destroy Russia. So they go and try to neutralize it. And they say, oh, Putin's trying to sit back and invade Ukraine. That wasn't it at all. But you're going to keep pushing NATO to where until Russia is defeated and destroyed. That's all propaganda. So the point is what we're reading in verse 8. Read it again.
Top of verse 8. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth.
And once again, when you read a verse like verse 8, it's telling you this has been the mindset since the Spanish Inquisition and their policies to lie, cheat, and steal to gain wealth and power around the earth, all the way to the final battles against Russia. From 1492 AD to 2026 present day, this has been the policy, lies and deceit. So what we're reading here in verse 8, on a global level, the Most High condenses in Revelation 16 on the propaganda and lies used to get the whole world to get to this region in the Middle East. Are we clear? Is it making sense? Okay, read on in verse 8.
Gog and Magog to gather them together to battle.
So the Most High is still in control of using Esau's lying nature to bring everybody to go to war, because that was the Most High's desire and design from the beginning. Read on.
The number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
He's saying all of these lies and propaganda is going to get the region so large to where it's going to be multiple amounts of people in this region before he destroys it. So it lets you know we're getting really close. We ain't all the way close, because we need more partners to come down here to this region and gather everybody up in this Middle Eastern region.
They said China wants to step in.
Well, everybody's talking to the dude. I've been hearing about Russia talking, and all these guys, Chechens are talking. My thing is, get your ass down here so we can get out of here. Right? That's my point. Yes, I.
Yeah, it makes sense because, as you know, Trump is trying to get other countries to come in, and they're like, nah, man.
Not yet.
This is not our war.
But
that's up, and they're starting to come.
And that's my point. Not yet.
Yeah.
But listen, Europe only got another week or two of oil.
Yeah.
Listen, they only got a week or two of oil, and they're starting to sweat.
Mm-hmm.
So when things tighten up, the whole world's going to start having issues with famines because of that fertilizer. Things are going to get bad. The worse it gets, the more naval ships is coming down, the more helicopters and more weapons and more people are coming down. All I'm trying to do today is, and last week and these weeks coming up, is to show you the theater of war, how the Most High is setting this up.
Right.
And as you're reading it, these processes take time. What you're reading in these verses and chapters, this happens over the course of decades. When you see like this dried up river Euphrates in verse 12 of Revelation 16, that happened over a 20, 30-year period. And all the wars and fighting leading up to the river drying up. And this propaganda has been going on since 1990 in this region. And from 1990 to now, that's 36 years of propaganda and wars and minor skirmishes to get to this point. Yes, sir.
Scripture says he's a God of nations.
God, he is, because he's giving everybody time to work on their spirit. And he's giving everybody time to get their weapons right. Iran's got their nukes. They're working on their nukes. He's like, listen, take your time, get your nuclear warheads up. If Iran hasn't gotten nukes, Paul's like, okay, I'm going to give you time to get your nukes too. Because Israel got their nukes. All these countries got them. I'm going to let you get your nukes too. And let everybody get their nukes. And get all your soldiers here. Get all your military weaponry in one spot. And then we're going to touch the smoke. And then I'm going to let all hell break loose. We're going to wait. Either Putin's going to change his mind or they're going to execute him. And they're going to bring another more radical guy. People don't realize people want Putin dead. What they don't realize is that the next guy is going to be more extreme. Just like the Ayatollah. They wanted him dead. Now his son is a crazier guy than him. This is how things go. So, I think we got verse 8. Continue.
God. Verse 9. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about.
So he's saying, on top of this war in this escalated region of the Middle East. These wars are going to start touching other countries, and Israel is going to start being affected by all the hell happening. Read on.
And the beloved city.
Beloved city is Jerusalem. Read on.
And fire came down from the Most High out of heaven and devoured them.
That is in 2nd Ezra chapter 13. Talks about Christ coming down here with his angels and burning up these nations in war, and it's going to be in the Middle East. Read on.
Verse 10. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire.
The devil that deceived them shall be cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, which is talking about the United States is going to be burnt up to smithereens. We're going to explain what this devil means in a half second. Continue.
Where the beast and the false prophet are.
There you go, that beast and that false prophet. I went here to explain the beast is the United States. That false prophet is all those religious institutions that are feeding the propaganda. The beast is feeding the propaganda, those lies, and so is the devil is feeding those lies. But we're going to find out, is it talking about the pitchfork guy, or is it talking about those elites that were pushing this wicked message? And to prove it, look on your computer screen. This is an old world dictionary definition. When you sit back here, verse 10 said the devil is the one that deceived the people, right? But when you sit back here and look at the word devil in the old biblical definitions means accuser or slanderer. So he's saying the entity, these elites that push the slander, the propaganda that brings all these people to war is going to get destroyed, along with the United States institution that pushed the slander, that pushed the propaganda, that pushed the lies. They're going to be thrown into this lake of fire and brimstone, as well as the false prophet that pushes the slander of and propaganda of the United States and NATO to the entire world. The people that are responsible for the pushing of these lies and deceit are going to be destroyed. False prophet included. Religious institutions included. Does that make sense? Does it make sense about what that false prophet is? But the crazy thing is what the devil means. The devil means what? Slanderer or accuser. Who is the king? Who is the greatest slanderer and accuser? Because listen, everybody can sit back here in this room and think of a person who brings gossip to the picture, who talks about somebody behind their back, right or wrong. Everybody knows a person who pushes rumors. But do you think the Most High is sitting back here and talking about this low-level rumor person? Or is he talking about a person or a nation or a people that slander entire nations for a living? Listen, the slander and the ideology behind why we have to destroy Iran is crazy. They said Iran has been conducting acts of terror for 47 years. That's not true. And they can't prove it. They're just making crazy statements saying Iran's been sitting back here and bringing out terror for 47 years. That's crazy. Then they're saying Maduro was sitting back here and slinging dope all across the damn United States. And then this Maduro sitting back here bringing fentanyl to the people. Like, what are you talking about? The Ecuadorian president that you're cool with, they're the ones slanging the dope.
They
The
lie.
one that Rubio is sitting back here has allegiances with in Ecuador is running the dope.
They lie on a political level and confuse people, and they, what's the word for it? It's M-word. They get people. They not modify. They mobilize people against nations.
Huh.
We have mobilized these different demographics against this nation and accuse them of something false.
Listen, the United States blew up like 2 speedboats, huh? And there's some basic speedboats. They're moving weight there. But when you sit back here and look at how they're moving weight, I've seen seized vessels in Russia. And in front of it, it came from Ecuador. Literally Ecuador. And there's bananas, there's oranges, there's fruit. Oh, there's cocaine in the back. There's cocaine back there.
What kind of fruit is that?
That's dirty. That's nose candy right there. It's booger sugar back there. There's booger sugar back there. Then there's fruit in the front.
Cocaine.
Booger sugar in the back. Are you serious, bro? It's booger sugar, right?
Yeah.
Listen, booger sugar, the devil's lettuce, whatever you want to call it. It's dope in the back. It's the real stuff in the back. And it came from Ecuador. The whole world knows it, but they don't tell about it on television. This is crazy. They don't tell you that they sit back here and they do deals with the cartels. They fund the cartels. Like, what's this crazy? You're funding the cartels in Mexico, but you're going to kill Maduro because of 2 speedboats and they've got drugs there. Are you crazy? That's propaganda. Those are lies. That's deceit. God, this is why he says those type of accusers are going to be destroyed with fire and brimstone. The bully of Baghdad, you gave that man weapons. He sat back here and he used chemical weapons. That's a war crime. You're talking about war crimes when your president is on True Social saying, we're going to bomb infrastructure. We're going to destroy your water. We're going to take away your water and your power. That's a war crime. What is this? This is crazy. What about the war crimes to the people in Gaza? They don't have any water to drink. Barely any food. Nobody's going to say that because they're going to put resorts over there. And they were trying to convince the Egyptians to take all these people so they can get a Trump Riviera down there. No lie. These are the deals that are being done behind closed doors under the guise of freedom. You ever see, like, there was a Family Guy episode, and the wife was running for office in Koha. And she was going against this other guy who was talking about real, like, issues. And all she kept saying is, she says, freedom. Yeah. Freedom from terror. Oh, yeah. We don't want any terror. We definitely don't want any terror. I like what she said. And she kept saying, freedom. And she kept saying the same whack slogan. 9/11. And he says, 9/11. It was going crazy. And this guy was like, let's talk about the real issues. There's water issues in this. 9/11. We're going to vote for her. Like, this is crazy. Yeah. And they were spoofing how people eat the cheese and push for propaganda, and they just listen to the line, the narrative. Yep. While the war is being destroyed and turned from the inside out. And that propaganda starts from the elites, works its way down to the governmental levels, and then it filters out through the religious community, and those are the 3 unclean spirits. And the Most High literally calls the devil the slanderer. Because that spirit of that evil man, the spirit of the devil is to slander your enemy. Because when you slander your enemy, now you're justified to destroy him. This is why the Most High hates a slanderer. Yeah. He hates a person who makes moves through propaganda. I don't think we'll have time to go into that part of the class, but that's a real thing. He hates the spirit of lies and propaganda because you can stain a person's name and reputation, and you can never get away from it. You can never hide from that stained reputation.
You destroy their image, but
it's never changed. Yeah. Listen, remember that Benjamite that had beef with David?
Yeah.
It didn't matter what David did. That guy was going to call him a blood clot. Yeah. And he was cursing him out this whole time. It didn't matter what David did. He was going to get cursed out because what he did to Saul was wrong. Whatever propaganda got in that dude's head, David was not going to be forgiven.
He's a bloody man.
He's a bloody man. Kill this man. Kill this man. They're like, can we kill this guy, man? He's like, no, we can't kill this guy. We can't kill him. But the point is, he would never live that down. And just like the whole world's slant of Iran can never be lived down. The whole world's slant of how things that went down in Iraq can never be lived down. That's when you sit back and tell how things went down, they're like, that ain't how it went down. That's not true. Saddam was wicked. He was evil. Why would I say no? That's not true. He was destroying. He was a terrorist. Bin Laden was wicked. How about Bin Laden, his family? They were in bed with the Bushes. They were cool. They made money together.
He's wrestling.
They made money together.
Only airplanes flying after 9/11.
God, they're making money. And how about the United States got the intel that was going to happen? And it did nothing. And all of a sudden, the planes are destroyed and the towers are destroyed. But you find a passport right next to the rubble and say, yeah, this is it. This is those guys. It could have been anybody's passport.
Found wallet.
How you know it was there? How you know it was their passport? Are you serious?
All the bad guys got their wallet at the same time.
Like, oh, we'll do evil. Leave it. What? Are you serious? He left the gas can out? Are you serious? It's ridiculous.
It's cartoon.
Anyway, propaganda and lies. But the Most High said, the people that are deceiving. Read verse 10 again. Everybody's gone? I need you to hold it down. Hold a little longer. Unless you got to do something?
He was right. He on the right.
Okay. Can you give me that verse 10? Revelations 20 and 10.
Revelations 20 and 10. The devil that deceived them was cast in the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever.
Because as a nation, what's being pushed out in this world is deserving of death and destruction. Because propaganda and lies have been used as bait to destroy and corrupt the entire planet. And that's why they need death. From the elites to the powers that be to make the decisions on this earth, and your religious institutions deserve death for the negative impact they have on this entire world. Whether it's Catholicism, whether it's whatever it is, it's all corrupt and it's used to brainwash the people. From there, let's go back to Revelation 16 and verse. Let's read 13 again, and we're going to jump to 14.
Revelation 16 and 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs came out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet.
I think we got that point. Continue.
For they are the spirits of devils.
He says they are the spirits of devils, and we just read what the devil or devils means. He says the spirit behind these 3 unclean spirits is the spirit of slander. And that's propaganda. The spirits behind these 3 unclean frogs is the spirit of slandering. Slandering whatever country is next that they want to conquer. So the Most High is using the slandering spirit and their device to draw Esau in to their eventual destruction. So once the lie is in place, once the lie is set, that's the justification to do what? To bring your weapons, to bring your inventory, to sit back and destroy. There's a lot of pundits online that are like, what are you doing? There's no justifiable reason to do this. But the propaganda is strong enough to where there's not enough people that see things for what they are. So the majority of people are sheep, and they just follow what they see on CNN. People sit back and say, yeah, I read the news, listen to the news, man, and the United States is got all this stuff going on. They're all lies. You have to really be careful about what resources you go to listen to news, because a lot of it are lies. Your mainstream media is definitely lying to you, and even some of these independent sources are lying to you. And because there's so much lies saturated out there, it's hard to see the truth. It's hard to pick up the truth. And because of that, a lot of people just fall for the company line, and they just follow the propaganda, and they lead themselves and their children to destruction.
And benefit the interest of politicians,
of those elites,
and corporate executives
that's the point.
that serve the wicked.
God. So, continue in verse 14 from the top again.
For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world.
The kings of the earth are still following the politics and the push that the elites are pushing. That's why, whether it was the Super Bowl tickets that was being pushed by the World Health Organization, the whole world followed it. All the different propaganda, the whole world follows it for the most part. And that propaganda draws the whole world into whatever endeavor that Esau and the elites are pushing. And because of that, the Most High knows that and is using that to gather everybody in this region. Read on.
To gather them to the battle of that great day of the Most High Almighty.
Does that make sense? Read verse 16. But once again, the devil means slanderer. So when we sit back and say Esau's the devil, it's because the spirit that he's in is about lies. Lies on just different levels. But propaganda is a lie. Propaganda is the justification for global hegemony. But they can't say, that's why the Esau is called the beast. The beast is a ravenous, destructive animal. But how come nobody realizes that the United States is a beast? It's because of the propaganda.
And you know it because every country they go to save, they leave it destroyed.
I know.
Look at Libya.
I know. Libya is back in the Stone Age. Just sit back here, back to human trafficking. It's literal slave trades in Libya right now. When it was Gaddafi sat back here and was like, every married couple gets a house and $20,000 in their bank account to build their family. Everybody was educated. Everybody had a stipend that came from the oil money. And all of a sudden, now it's slave trade. We're back to this. We're back to the South. We're back to the damn South. United States South in the 1800s, 1600s.
It just shows you
this is crazy.
These are different levels of society that they had to go to get civilized.
Because the U.S. and France, and they don't give a damn what happens to the country. Just give us access to your oil, and whoever was the muscle behind the overthrow of Gaddafi, take it. Take the country, do what you want. Just like they gave that guy that was one of the top 10 most wanted in Syria. Do what you want with the country. If you want to kill Alawites, you want to kill Christians, who cares? Because that's what they're doing. The first thing they did was kill people that were Christians and kill people that were opposing religious groups. I saw an image of these guys that came into this like third-story apartment, and they were sitting back here and beating the people. And they said, "Listen, you need to take a bullet or jump off the ledge." Which one do you want to do? Then when the person decided to jump off the ledge, they shot behind him as he was going off the ledge. Like this is what this leader that got a blue suit on, shaking hands with Trump, is allowing to happen in Syria. It's all chaos. But they don't care. As long as they get the deals with the oil, they get the deals with the natural resources. This is what's happening. Okay, so and that's why it says there's the spirits of devil. The slandering is there's nothing but corruption and evil behind this propaganda. Read on. Working miracles. I think we got that. Read verse 15.
15. Behold, I come as a thief.
This is Christ speaking. So with all this information we're learning, Christ, like, I'm still coming like a thief. You're not going to know when I'm coming. So this process is happening. We're in the middle of this. Well, the point is this. We're in the middle of this. We're in the middle of Revelation 16, verse 12 through 15. Don't get it twisted. We're in the middle of it. And he said, we're in the middle of it because we've been watching and seeing what's going on. But he says, as you're in the middle of it, I'm coming as a thief. You're not going to know exactly when. You just need to know that you're close. And this is why we go through these classes, to remind people that we're close, and we better sit back here and be on our P's and Q's, because you don't know when it's exactly going to happen. Read on.
Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments.
What does that mean by blessed is he that watches how things are happening, and you're blessed if you keep your garments. Hold this and go to Revelations chapter 19 and verse 8.
Revelation chapter 19 and verse 8.
Read that.
And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness of saints.
So when he says you have to make sure that you have your garments on, what garments are we talking about? Righteous garments. You better be working on whitening your spirit up, working on that filth inside of you. You better be working on breaking and eliminating that evil that you play with every damn day long. So while you're watching all these prophecies unfold, you better be fixing that negative. You better be getting off that dope, getting off that lust, breaking that pride, learning how to be selfless. Because if you don't learn this now, it's going to happen in an instant, like a thief in the night. And you know what? Listen, my point is this. And you keep living the life you want to live, you're going to look up and it's going to be too late. He says, I'm coming like a thief. I'm coming unexpected. You're not going to have as much time to prepare as you think you got. The whole point of this lesson is you don't have as much time as you think. Everything that's happening is happening. There was another verse we went over last week that it was going to take time, but then it wasn't going to take that much time. Mm-hmm. I forgot the verse. I got to go back and look for it. But it was saying it's going to tarry, but it won't tarry. That was the word. Right? It won't tarry. It's going to tarry, but it won't tarry for long after. So we're here, man. And this isn't the time to play games, be in our head, have bitterness, have all this spite in our heart. It ain't the time. So just a recap, this entire process we're reading from verse 12 to verse 16 is really, that's not it. Oh, wait.
7, 16.
That's not it.
Yeah, Habakkuk 2 and 3.
Yeah, that's what it was. Read that real quick. Habakkuk 2 and 3. Read that.
Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry.
It's going to tarry, but it's going to come, and when it comes, it's going to be fast. It's not going to be as quick, as slow as you think it is. So this process accelerates. It takes time to get to its crescendo. When it gets close, everything starts speeding up. And I don't know if you realize it. Don't you feel it is speeding things up every couple days? It's 48 hours. You keep hearing 48 hours. Like, damn, man. 48 hours, we're going to sit back and take it back to the Stone Age. Then we're going to push it back for 2 or 3 days. But then something crazy happens. And then things keep building up quicker than it used to. That lets you know you're closer than you think. We're closer than we think. But once again, from verse 12 to verse 16 in Revelation 16 is explaining what's been happening in the Gulf region from 1990 to present day. That's what this entire area is. The Iraqi war, it was the Operation Desert Storm. But before that, it was all those minor wars fighting for the water in the Euphrates River. All these skirmishes between Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Kuwait. Then you have the Gulf War in 1990. Then you got 9/11 that brings everybody down to Iraq to take out Saddam. And you sit back here and have the Afghanistani war. Now you're sitting back in here dealing with Iran. All this process is happening in this region. And the Most High keeps using the propaganda machine of the United States that's funded by the elites, America, and the religious institutions to get everybody back in this region. And this is the Most High's intent. Get everybody to get your money up, get your weapons and your artillery up, all your bombs and your nukes and your whatevers and whatever devices you got, get them together, get your men together, get your draft together, because I want everybody here from Europe to Russia, from the Americas, and we're going to sit back here and settle this once and for all. We're going to call it Armaggedon. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's literally what the Most High's intent is and how he's going to play it. I want to go. Also, this also deals with that Arab Spring, because it was the Gulf War. I'm gonna say it again. It was Gulf Wars. It was the war in Iraq. It was Afghanistan. Then it was the Arab Spring. All that was happening from 1990 to present day. All that was affecting this region. Okay? So, with that being the case, I want to go to Isaiah 32. Isaiah 32, verse 5 through 8. Matter of fact, we're going to do two more. Give me Proverbs also 26, 22 to 28. No, I want Proverbs first. 26, verse 22 to 28.
Proverbs 26, 22. Proverbs chapter 26, verse 22. The word of a talebearer are as wounds.
The words of a liar are like wounds. And he's explaining this is what propaganda does to nations. You sit back here and you lie about a nation's intent, lie about what they've been saying. Listen, they've been saying Iran is a week from having a nuclear bomb. Are you serious?
Like
For 20 years.
For 20 years. Netanyahu was saying the same thing for 20
in the
years.
90s. In the 90s.
Yes, he said it in the 90s. Like, Iran is 1 week away from building a bomb. For 20 years, 25 years, bro. That's crazy. And they were saying the same thing about Saddam. The whole thing started, the war in Iraq was about Saddam having weapons of what? Mass destruction. Then they went down there, this guy named Scott Ritter was working for the United States. He thoroughly went through all of the Iraqi places in his arsenal. And they said, listen, Iraq don't have weapons of mass destruction. And they said, listen, don't say that. Keep it to yourself. Don't be a whistleblower. He did, and they ruined his career. Now he sits back here. He's on these alternative news media shows every day because he got to make some money, bro. But you know he got blacklisted for telling the truth, and they said no, Saddam does have weapons of mass destruction, and they destroyed damn Iraq. Then they destroyed it, and they didn't see any weapons of mass destruction. You know what they did find though? They found oil. They found gold. There was a lot of gold they found. They found a lot of gold. They found a lot of oil, and then they left. And they don't know. Then they put some bases over there to stay on top of these Iranians. Now they're saying the Iranians have all these weapons of mass destruction, and the propaganda keeps fueling it. People keep buying it. They forgot that they lied 10 years ago.
One of the most brilliant jokes I heard about it was
George Bush said something, didn't he? He joked about it. He did joke about it.
No, it was the best just I ever heard about this point was Chappelle said that they were down there for a yellow cake, and that dude came out of nowhere and said, "Don't drop that cake." And he said we found the weapons of mass destruction, and he had
like it was explosive cake.
He had yellow cake in his hand.
Yeah,
because yellow cake is supposed to be an explosive ingredient, but the play on words was he had actual yellow cake in his hand. They found yellow cake in Iraq.
It's crazy.
It was crazy.
Everything's a joke. It's like it was a big lie.
It was a lie,
and people ate the cheese. Huh?
Yeah.
So read verse 22 again.
Proverbs chapter 26, verse 22. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly.
He says it hits a person to the core, and it's damaging. It's damaging. Continue.
23. Burning lips and a wicked heart.
Listen, a burning lips means deceptive, passionate speech. That's what burning lips is. Passionate, deceptive speech. Read on.
Burning lips and a wicked heart are like a potsherd covered with silver dross.
Potsherd is a broken like pottery. It's broken pottery covered with silver filth. So you think that whatever's being said might have some value, but it really don't have no value. Because if you see silver dross, you think the material is really what? Silver. But it's just filth on top of clay that you can't do nothing with. So they're saying this passionate, deceptive propaganda is really nothing and it's baseless. But it's damaging. It's damaging, is what he's saying. It's baseless, but it's destructive. What else is propaganda but destructive, baseless communication that can destroy somebody down to the core of them? Because of this lie, How many innocent children have to die in Iran? On the first day, and they emphasize the first day because when you sit back here and destroy a girls' school and take out 160 people, they say normally the war, maybe 2 or 3 months in the line, you might make a mistake on who you're targeting. But you don't make a mistake on the first day of war. You know exactly what you're bombing, what you're taking out, and there's no mistakes in the beginning. So when they sat back here on the first day of bombing Iran and they destroyed 160 little girls, they knew exactly what they were doing. So because of these lies, how many people's lives have to be sacrificed because of a lie that is baseless and has no value? And this is why this place has to be the place of fire and brimstone, eternal fire and brimstone, because of all the lives that had to be lost, just because of a lie and a desire and an evil intention behind the lie. To take. Read on.
Verse 24. He that hated.
The person that truly hates does what?
Dissembleth with his lips.
What does dissemble mean? Look it up in 1828.
Dissemble. It says to hide under a false appearance. To conceal.
A person who really hates you will sit back here and say something that's not true and hide behind something else to bring it out. That's a true hater. I will sit back here, I want your oil, but I'm going to lie about why I want to go get it. Read that verse again. Verse 24.
Come, he that hated dissembleth with his lips, and layeth up deceit within him.
This is the nature and spirit of propaganda. The Most High just didn't. That word wasn't invented yet. But a dissembler was, burning lips was, and a talebearer was. If this isn't the so-called white man, I don't know who it is. Because the truth is, he is the slanderer. He is the dissembler on the larger level. Now we got Jake that's in the spirit of the devil too. This is why Christ called the Pharisees your father the what?
The devil.
Because what were the Pharisees doing?
Same thing.
They were dissembling and lying and slandering because they were threatened by Christ's message and his healing and his word. So they had to slander and discredit him to justify their position. So when Christ said, you are of your father the devil, right after they said their father was Abraham, he was saying you're in the spirit of that same slanderer
who was killing
the prophets, and the same slanderer that lied to Eve about what? That the following idolatry was going to give you power. It was a slander, it was a lie. Because that evil, wicked person was jealous of Adam's seed's immortality. It's the same. That's what the devil is. He's a liar and an accuser. So if that's the spirit in you, you are the spirit of the devil in you. And this is how Esau, as a nation, has that slanderous spirit. Because he's destroying the nations by these lies and these accusations. You're destroying people's lives. Continue.
God, verse 25. When he speaketh fair, believe him not.
You can't believe Esau when he speaks fair because really he got an ulterior motive behind all of his messages. That's what a dissembler is. Read on.
For there are 7 abominations in his heart.
There's a complete amount of lies and filth in his intention in his mind. Read on.
Whose hatred is covered by deceit. His wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation.
And the Most High is going to sit back here and show Esau's wickedness to the whole world. That's why in other verses it says stink's going to rise up. And the whole world's going to smell that stink. They're going to see Esau for who they are. And they're starting to see it slowly but surely as we speak. That's why the Most High has to have America be that eternal fire so nobody will forget the slanderous city, the wicked city, the evil city, and what that place stood for. That's why it has to be eternal damnation and eternal fire. Last verse for the day, because I know it's a dense class and it's kind of little work to power through this. Let's do the Isaiah verse, Isaiah 32. verse 5 through 6, or 5 through 8. The water for y'all patience today to get through this class.
Isaiah chapter 32 and verse 5.
And this chapter 32 talks about at the end time. Matter of fact, read verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 32 and verse 1. Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness.
Who's that king that's going to reign in righteousness? It's talking about Christ. So this is somebody at the end, after Revelations 18, when Babylon the Great falls, and all the great merchants fall, and all the elites fall. This is after that. Now jump to verse 5.
Verse 5. The vile person shall be no more called liberal.
And this is how America's been based. The vile person, the real villain in the story, is looked upon as liberal. The sinister villain in the story of life as we speak looks like the person who is pursuing everyone's what?
Good.
Freedom. United States is supposed to be fighting for freedom. Right? Freedom, justice, in the American way. This is when Christ comes back, the true wicked person is going to be known as the wicked person. And it's not going to be snowballed with this idea that this wicked person is really about the freedom of nations. Does that make sense? He's just, the lie is going to be out, the cat's going to be out the bag, and the whole world's going to know when Christ is in power and the Israelite princes are leading this world, who was the wicked person. And this wicked person is not going to be known as the person who's fighting for the world's freedom. Read on.
The vile person shall be no more called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful.
Listen, the churl, look up churl.
Churl says, a rude, surely ill-bred man.
Say that again.
It says a rude, surely ill-bred
Surly.
man.
It says a rude, surly.
Surly.
Somebody give me surly. Then we'll go back to the other definition.
Surly. It says gloomily. It says morose, crabbed, snarling, sternly sour, rough, cross, and rude.
Okay, so let's go back
I got
to...
one that says menacingly hostile.
Brother, that's a good one.
That's the better one.
So he says a rude, menacingly hostile,
'Cause they're hostile.
which is a what? A beast. That's why the Most High calls him a surly man here in Isaiah. He's a beast in Revelations. And he says when Christ comes back, everybody's lenses are going to be clear and realize that the white man, this churlish man that was looked upon as this bountiful, successful guy,
liberator.
the liberator of the nations, is really going to be seen as the wicked man he is. So once again, it says, rude, surly, what's the last word? In churl.
It says a miser.
No. In churl, the definition of churl, 1828.
Yeah, true.
No, it says rude, surly, what else?
Oh, ill-bred man.
He says the world's going to realize that Esau was this ill-bred, wicked person.
No morals.
He is an ill-bred spirit, a lesser spirit, a beastly spirit, a carnal-based spirit. The world's going to realize he's not the epitome of what we should be focusing and teaching our kids to be like.
Yeah.
When Christ comes back, everybody's like, that was the devil that the Bible speaks of. This guy was a beast. He was a filthy, ill-bred. That means no amount of education can make you morally on point. No amount of knowledge and teaching and cleaning you up and shaving you up is going to make you, it's not going to make you the caveman that you really are. That's literally what he's saying. But it's going to take Christ to come back for everybody for their eyes to be clearly refocused about who and what he really is. Read on. No, in the scriptures, verse 6.
It says, for the vile person will speak villainy.
The vile person will speak evil, will speak villainy, will eventually be known as the criminal he is. He says the vile person is going to be exposed for the villain. Everybody still thinks the U.S. is the defender of all honor. eventually they're going to see that he was the thief of all nations. Him and his crony NATO group has just been robbing and shaking down the entire world. They're the biggest crook, set up band of crooks in the world. And the whole world will eventually see it. Read on.
God. And his heart will work iniquity to practice hypocrisy.
This is, listen, it don't get clearer to explain Esau's intention and his propaganda and his lies. He said he's going to be revealed as the hypocrite he really is, as the dissembler he really is. Read on.
And to utter error against the Most High, and to make empty the soul of the hungry.
Esau's desire is going to be exposed, that he's really been about making empty the soul of the hungry. And how do you do that? You take away a country's ability to sustain themselves. The Most High blessed every country with natural resources that you can use to sustain your people. So when Esau goes from country to country and takes out Maduro's oil, and they go to Iraq and take the oil from the people. They go to Syria and take the oil from the people. They go to Iran and try to take them out as a nation. You're taking a country's ability to sustain themselves.
Feed themselves.
And what are you doing in real life? You are making empty the soul of the hungry.
Yep.
Listen, they sat back here and took all these THAAD missiles from South Korea and took them to the theater of war in the Middle East. Now the South Koreans have nothing to defend themselves against the North Koreans. They're ass naked out here, hoping that short arms in North Korea don't sit back and shoot bombs on them with his little leather bomber coat. For a guy that hates America, why does he wear American clothes?
Because he likes it.
Why is he wearing American bombers? He like your Top Gun.
He wants to hang out with Robin.
Like your Tom Cruise. And that's what they say. He likes all these American. He's into all these American vices. But to the people, he hates America. Anyway.
You might have some Maduro candy, some little nose candy too.
There's a lot of nose candy. There's a lot of big sugar out there.
I hate y'all.
Playing Gangnam Style or something like that. Jamming out.
Yeah, and they inspired rock over Japan.
Kind of. Over South Korea.
Yeah.
But let's keep going. Let's keep going.
It says, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail.
He's going to starve countries out. He's going to cut off people's water sources. Whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in the Euphrates River, he's doing it already. He was using ISIS to cut off Syrian water as a war tactic. We just read about it. This is what he does. Now they're talking about we're going to sit back and destroy Iran's desalination plants. You're using water as a weapon. And then you say you better not do it to the Jews and take away and destroy their desalination plants. You see the hypocrisy in it? They're instruments of terror. They're terrorists if they bomb the Israelis' desalination plants. But we're sitting back here liberating the people of Iran if we take away their ability to drink clean water. That's crazy. That's hypocrisy at its best. It's Isaiah 32 and 6 and 5 and 4. But keep going.
The instruments also of the churl are evil.
The instruments of these ill-bred men are evil. Their weapon systems, their relentlessness, their all-or-nothing attitude, their whole mindset is evil. And I'm going to destroy you and break you all the way down, and we're not stopping. And we will destroy your innocence. We will sit back here and take your children. We will sit back here and starve you people out. What they're doing in Palestine is unforgivable. Have you seen the tears of the children in Gaza? There's no food. There's no water. These guys are sitting back here laying out their children just on the ground, crying.
That's something crazy. They had. You might look up online, but they had children playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like toddlers, and the toddlers had a doll, and they were playing funeral. So they had the toddler, and they put it on a little.
They're used to it.
They put it on a little, I guess, a gurney, and they were carrying it like a casket, and the kids were playing funeral. That's the environment there. Look it up in your channel.
Bro, read verse 7.
Verse 7. The instruments also of the churl are evil.
His methods, his regime change methods, his way of keeping countries perpetually broke. You sit back here, think about how when they send the IMF to your country, You can't pay your loans. So now we send you money. But if we send you money and you take the loan, you can no longer create and grow crops that can sustain your country. You have to buy crops from us.
Making them hungry.
That makes a country hungry and dependent. You can't. If we see you making wheat, we see you sitting back here and growing crops that can feed in rice, then we'll sit back here and we'll come and destroy it. So you can only make cocoa. You can only make chocolate in Ghana. What kind of craziness is this? You can't feed a nation on chocolate. But you can only make chocolate and send it to us, and we're going to buy it at cheap deals, and you got to buy rice from Europe. Why buy dirty rice from Europe when we can make rice for ourselves? You're destroying a country. You're breaking a country. This is what they do. This is the EU values that they talk about. This is how you make a country perpetually dependent on you, and you keep them in poverty. And then when countries like Cuba try to break away from that, they sanction you. So they starve you one way or the other. They're going to starve you by not sending you money or any help from countries, or they starve you because they make you dependent on them. Like in Afghanistan, they couldn't farm regular crops, just opium. And if you sat back here and did anything else, you lose your farm.
Lose your funding. Lose your funding.
You lose your funding and your damn farm, and they'll put somebody else who's gonna grow that damn poppy and push that dope.
Yep.
That's how they get you, because you took the cheese and took the money. Now they control your entire land, what you cook. I mean, what you grow, how you sustain your people. That is what this is talking about. The instruments of the churl are evil. The instruments of the ill-bred man is evil. You can have all those monkey suits in the world. Look what you're doing to the people. You can dress in your Armani suits. Look how wicked you are from the heart. Read on.
Right. The instruments also of the churl are evil. He devises wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words.
I don't know any ways how to keep explaining it. Read on.
Even when the needy speaketh right.
Even when the needy do what they're told, they're still being destroyed.
Yeah.
Even when the needy play ball, they're still broke. And the people are still hungry. People are still suffering.
Third world.
It's a third world for a reason. The third world happens because of the policies breaking the people. Listen, when I was in Guatemala, Guatemala was a heavy U.S. state where their presence was there, and the people were so poor, it was ridiculous. They were a broken people. Nobody was fighting nothing. They were doing what they were told, and the only meat they can have access to was literally sitting back here in open air markets where thousands of flies were just putting their larvae on this damn chicken that was sitting back here in open air. And whoever had the money to get the chicken was happy they had some meat for the day. I'm like, this is hell on earth. And even when they're obeying, they're sitting back here and struggling and suffering. Read on.
But the liberal deviseth liberal things, and by liberal things shall he stand.
And by liberal things is how he's going to fall also. I hope we got the point of that topic. Are there any questions? Israel Thwart, tune in. See y'all on Wednesday with Sham Shawan. Shalom.